Good evening and thank you for joining us. The board that oversees Lakehead Public Schools is looking to keep the mask mandate in place in its classrooms after the March break. A special meeting taking place at this hour. The board voted 6-3 to lobby the district health unit to keep the mask policy in place for students and staff. Board Chair Ellen Chambers says the Ford government's decision to end the mandate after the March break came as a shock. And she says the resolution was tabled with the safety of students and staff in mind, knowing that many people will be socializing during the week off. We'll have a full story on the results of this evening's vote on the Late Edition News at 11 o'clock. And the Lakehead Board isn't the only one across the province trying to keep masks in place. Colin DeMello has more on the effort to push back against the Ford government's decision.
After COVID-19 was first declared a pandemic, and some of Ontario's public health measures are coming to a halt. Today was the final day that a mandatory masking policy was officially in place for Ontario schools. When students return after March break, masks will be a choice, leaving some parents feeling uneasy.
At least to the end of this year, it is a good idea. Maybe it is not necessary, but it is a good idea.
It would be good to be voluntary. So, for example, for some families, if they prefer to add more protections for their kids.
The province has been facing some pushback for its decision to lift the masking policy on March 21st. The Hamilton Wentworth District School Board voted to keep masking rules in place for grades 4 to 12 until April 15th. And in other school boards, trustees explored their legal boundaries as they look to extend the policy.
Majority of our kids, 5 to 11, are not vaccinated. In some pockets of Toronto, in my ward, 11% of kids are vaccinated. So that's scary for parents, it's scary for students, it's scary for staff.
But the government says school boards don't have the power to actually implement masking policies on their own. They would need to go through the local medical officer of health. The premier is blunt.
But our expectations to the school boards, and to the exception of the parents that want their kids to put masks on, follow the direction of the chief medical officer, plain and simple.
But the government finds itself at odds with many in the medical community who have been calling for a 2-week extension.
I would keep them on for a few more weeks. I'd watch how things go before and a few weeks after March break. Listen, if we still have a downward trajectory, if things are headed in the right direction, great, let's take them off.
And now some school boards have written to the chief medical officer of health pleading for a policy change.
As to whether we can perhaps have a phased-in approach in regards to removing masks.
The government maintains going forward, everyone will have a personal choice.
That was CTV's Colin DeMello. Local COVID rates may have leveled off, but the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centre isn't ready to resume non-urgent surgeries and procedures just yet. The numbers continue their gradual decline, with 24 COVID patients in hospital, down from 29 yesterday, and 9 of those people are in intensive care. The overall hospital occupancy rate is up slightly at 103.5%, but ICU occupancy is down to 77%. Meanwhile, surgery wait times have increased as 1,600 patients have been added to the queue during the latest wave, putting the total number of people waiting at 5,500. And with 127 staffers either at home with COVID or isolating, surgical capacity is still just 50%. The target is 70%.
Target 182-day wait time for patients and that are not cancer, for example. And right now we're at 219 days, and many individuals are waiting much longer than that. But we're hopeful that as weeks progress and our staffing situation stabilizes, that we'll be able to start to get to some of these long waiting patients and needed surgeries, and very much appreciate the hardship on patients and their families and how difficult it is to wait.
The good news is that the average number of COVID admissions is down to 4 patients a day. The rate of admission had been averaging about 9 per day during the latest wave, and it peaked at 15. Well, two more COVID-19 related deaths, are being reported today across northwestern Ontario. One comes from the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, while the other is in the Northwestern Health Unit. The TBDHU is also reporting 90 new COVID cases since Wednesday. There are now 186 active cases across the district, 13 more than there were 2 days ago. The newly reported death is the third this month and the 82nd of the pandemic. In the Northwestern Health Unit, there are 259 active infections, down from 275 on Wednesday, and the 7-day test positivity rate has dropped to 20.7%. 22 people have died with COVID-19 in that part of the region. Charges have now been laid against 4 men from Toronto following a high-speed collision on Water Street yesterday afternoon. It happened around 4 o'clock at the Pearl Street intersection. City police tried to pull over this car on Wilson Street for a traffic violation, but the driver fled. The vehicle crashed into a commercial van soon after, but no one was injured. The 4 people in the car then got out and fled the scene on foot, but were eventually arrested. The suspects are all from Toronto and aged 21 to 24. 3 of them have been charged with obstructing a police officer. 1 suspect is charged with dangerous driving and flight from police. 1 of the 4 was also charged with possession of fentanyl. Police are asking the public for dash cam or other surveillance video of the incident. Rising gas prices have already taken a toll on our wallets while filling up at the pumps, but they're also beginning to hurt in other areas as well, like in the aisles of the grocery store. Particularly, small independent grocers across the region are feeling the pinch. Adam Riley has more on that.
For the last 30 years, Kelly Rivers has worked in the retail and food industry and has experienced many of the ups and downs in costs, but now it's all uncharted territory for her.
I've never seen such a drastic spike compared to now.
Gas prices are on the rise, with stations across the region inching closer and closer to the $2 per litre mark or surpassing it. Rivers became the manager of Costa's Food Market in Terrace Bay late last year and says stores are charged a fuel surcharge for deliveries. For smaller independent grocers, it can get very hard as they don't have the same buying power as large retailers.
We don't have the storage space. We don't have the availability to give the deals that others do. And so it makes it a little harder. They can buy a skid of one product and pay much less than we do for 6 cases.
Rivers says the items being hit already are what she calls the staples, such as milk, meat, and produce. When asked if there was a buyer's group between the smaller grocers that might help lower the fuel surcharges and in turn lower prices, she says it could be an option.
That would be a good tool to help out everyone in the smaller communities, in the further out communities, because not everybody can travel to Thunder Bay, and especially with gas prices, it's still going to cost them the same by going to a big box store.
As of Friday, gas prices are as high as $1.89 in Marathon, $1.99 in Terrace Bay, $1.95 in Scriber, and $1.98 in Nipigon. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Catholic school students across Thunder Bay showed their support for the people of Ukraine today. The kids wore blue and yellow, the colors of the Ukrainian flag, and raised money for the Red Cross. At St. Paul School, students also crafted sunflowers. That's Ukraine's national flower. They were put up across the school and in most of the windows. The Red Cross raffle gave students a chance to win prizes while supporting the cause at the same time. St. Paul teacher Donna Palaya helped organize Blue and Yellow Day. She explains how events like this help out the students.
If they can understand peace and how to live with other people, then I think they can bring that forward, and so that when they get to be adults, hopefully they remember these moments and they cherish them, and then they could continue on being those being people that would help.
Probably means a lot to everybody, just like it means a lot to me, because I'm glad that we're able to support Ukraine.
Students at St. Paul alone raised more than $900 through their raffle, and it's all in support of Ukraine. While many people in our city may be sick of winter, students at École Grand Morgan celebrated the season today with a traditional French-Canadian festival. Bonhomme Carnaval, the traditional mascot of Quebec City's annual winter celebration, was on site cheering the kids on as they participated in a variety of winter activities like boot hockey, snow sculpting, and a snowy obstacle course. French immersion teacher Whitney Lundstrom explains that it's important to embed French culture into the school's activities and to bring the lessons of the classroom
Really
outside.
what we're trying to do with the kids is just spark joy after a long and cold winter. We're really excited. The grade 8 students are leading each center and they came up with the activities. One of the big highlights is that on site we have la tire, which is a traditional francophone treat for kids to try. And we thought what better way to kind of ring in the March break by throwing a Carnaval d'hiver outside and having fun.
Whatever station we do next is going to be very fun too. Yeah, and have a good March break. Yeah, I'm just looking around and like I see everybody just having fun. Yeah. And like there's music going, so I think this is going to be really fun to do.
Well, the school kept a fire going throughout the day, but for the most part, the students were too busy enjoying the winter fun to stop and warm their hands with bonhomme. Looks like a lot of fun. Well, for most visitors to Mount Baldy, the ski hills provide a fun winter pastime, but for one Thunder Bay woman, skiing has been a lifelong passion ever since she first hit the slopes more than 80 years ago. Kurt Black brings us her story, proving that age is just a number.
If I didn't have skiing, what else would I be doing? Staying home reading a book. Oh, that's no fun. I can do that anytime, but you need to have snow and beautiful people around the hill.
Since she was a small girl, the ski slopes have always been home for Thunder Bay's Kathleen Kitty Kuko. And don't expect that to change anytime soon. As at 91 years young, she's still going strong. 8 decades since she first strapped herself into a pair of Northland maple skis. It's a passion that Kuko and her late husband Ray passed on to their kids and now on to her great-grandchildren, 3-year-old Jane and 2-year-old Brock. Throughout the years, Kuko has traveled across both Canada and Europe in search of new trails and adventures, but no matter where her travels took her, one ski hill in particular always remained close to her heart.
Mount Baldy first, and then I went to find the mountains. And but I like them all out west. I like Sun Peaks as a hill, but the other ones, there's no knocking them, they're lovely.
Health issues had caused some in Kuko's family to fear Kitty's days on the hill could be behind her, which is why everyone was all smiles on Thursday to see her back doing what she loves, especially longtime friend and cousin-in-law, Sally Kuko.
She is proof that skiing is a lifelong family sport. And today you saw the family, which is 91.
With Kuko's love for the sport still burning bright, as long as there's snow, you can expect to find her and the rest of her family hitting the slopes at, you guessed it, Mount Baldy! Kurt Black, TBT News.
Well, Fiona, who can tell that she's 91 years old? Her energy level puts mine to shame, and it seems like she may be able to ski for the foreseeable future. It was a little cold out there today, a little cold and blustery.
Yeah, unlike you, she does not complain about the cold. She
always complain.
Celebrates it, and I guess there was quite a bit to celebrate about today. We started out with a low of -19, wind chills of -25. Although we did warm up to -8, the winds were coming in from the northwest. That means cold Arctic air, and they were blustery for sure, 25 to 45 kilometers per hour. Consequently, at times, if you looked into the distance in Thunder Bay, it's a little hard to tell if it was snowing or if that was just the snow blowing around on roofs and so on throughout the city. We did get a couple of short periods of light snow, but for the majority of the time, it was just blustery, blowing snow. Now, if we take a look what's going on across the region at this hour, to the west, temperatures dropped to between about -16 in Fort Frances and about -19 up towards Red Lake in the early morning hours. And it didn't really warm up during the day very much. As you can see, hovering maybe 1 or 2 degrees off from that. Fort Frances, -17, Dryde, -17, -19 in Kenora, -17 in Red Lake, all with lots of sunshine. But the winds are still pretty gusty, and wind chills are ranging from 10 to 12 degrees colder than these numbers would suggest. So right now, Red Lake is looking at a wind chill of -28, as is Fort Frances. Now, as you head further east, it actually does warm up a little bit. Armstrong at -12, Greenstone at -11. They've had snow most of the day, a lot of it very heavy snow, but they did warm up to -7, so quite a bit milder. It's starting to cool off because the winds are starting to pick up. Marathon at -10 and Sault Ste. Marie -7. They topped out at -3 this afternoon, but they too have some pretty heavy snow working its way across the region. So tonight here in the city of Thunder Bay, it's going to be another frigid night. Temperatures are going to plummet down to -23 under partly cloudy skies. No clouds means nothing to hold in the heat. Wind chills are going to hit about -28 as the winds start to taper off a little bit, but still coming in from the northwest. However, as we head into the weekend, there is some relief on the way if you don't want these really frigid cold temperatures. If you like Ryan and just can't manage to handle that, we do have some warmer air that's going to sink in, but it's going to take until about Sunday for it to arrive. But after that, it's going to stick around for a bit into next week. I'll have more details later on the News Hour.
I've never made any secret about it, Fiona. I'm a big baby when it comes to cold temperatures. Well, it's another day and more sanctions against Russia coming from Canada, coming from the U.S. Now, this all comes as Russia has widened, I suppose, its area of attack in Ukraine, striking some cities that hadn't yet been targeted. We'll explain it all as your Friday News Hour continues.